so tired.
So Watches and Wonders is done, and it always takes it out of me. Watches and Wonders, for those who don't know, because it's very much an industry and watch geeky event. It's essentially London Fashion Week for the watch world. It's where watch brands come together and they showcase their new watches, be it new innovations or new trends or what we saw this year, just new colorways. Because I'm not a normal publication, this is a YouTube channel, I get to cover what I want to cover. Usually I go out and I just record everything that I see, and then I get burnt out, and then I don't post anything. I've got hard drives full of footage I just haven't used. So this year I had 2 appointments a day with the idea of having time to edit and then publish stuff. The plan never goes, what's the phrase? It never goes to plan. And so I thought I'd do a little video highlighting things that I'm not necessarily gonna make a video dedicated to it, or I haven't yet got enough footage of that watch. So this is me talking about Watches and Wonders and the fun things that I saw. The atmosphere of Watches and Wonders this year was different from previous years. It was still busy with people everywhere, but I feel like it was quiet from the brand's perspective. The problem is, from my point of view, and I guess everyone's point of view who makes content around watches, is that that's not massively exciting. There isn't all that much that we can actually talk about. Pretty much across the board, it felt like brands were focusing on doing range extensions. And what I mean by that is just color changes or different sizes, as opposed to innovations like new materials or new designs. Everyone knows that the watch market is slower now, certainly compared to COVID times, and it's probably a little slower than it was before COVID times. But I feel like the slowness comes from perhaps the hype. I don't feel like there was any hype around Rolex. They didn't really do much. They did range extensions as opposed to anything massively innovative. I felt like there was no hype around Patek. I don't even know what they launched, but no one's really talking about it. And if you were there, you would see that there was no crowd around Patek, where typically Rolex and Patek would have all the attention. This year, the attention was at Tudor. But I think within like the scale of hype, we liked what Tudor did as a community, but it was nothing crazy. It wasn't a new Pelagos. It was just, again, range extensions. There's another point, which is why I think brands were relatively quiet this year. And that's around the limelight. That's around brands wanting to get the focus without having to deal with all the traffic from all the other brands. Pretty much every brand we spoke to all said that there will be more launches throughout the year. And that's just a smart move from the brand's point of view. Because when you're at Watches and Wonders, there were 2 brands that were always the focus, Rolex and Patek. And then of recent years, Tudor crept into that fold. But there was still innovation going on beyond the Rolex, Tudor, Patek world. Like Lange, who brought out a new, at the show it's always massively big, but they brought out a new Datograph Perpetual Tourbillon Honeygold Lumen, where they've got this massively complex watch that's obviously very traditionally designed, but they've injected it with lume everywhere, and this thing looks stunning as it is, but as soon as the lights turn off, it's even more amazing. One of the challenges around Lange and Watches and Wonders is Lange pretty much always launches a watch which is already sold out by the time they've launched it, so that's a tricky one. To contrast this massive thing from Lange, you can then go over to Bulgari, who have now brought back the title, or taken back the title, for the thinnest ever watch. But they didn't do it necessarily through innovating a new movement. I heard that they did it by just shaving down the sapphire crystal. So I kind of feel like that's a bit of a cheat. Frederique, a brand that I don't really see much content around, and I don't really know why. I feel like they're doing some really cool stuff. They brought out some new manufactured classic Moonphase 40mm wide dress watches. These things are, as you can see, super sexy, super classy. It's got an in-house automatic Moonphase movement, 72 hours of power reserve, and these guys have been making a big thing about it, and they've been making a big thing about the fact this comes with a 5-year warranty. You're getting an in-house movement, a timeless design, and this thing is about $3,000. I think it's a pretty fair package. Alpina have had some interesting pieces come out. They've reduced the size of their Extreme. They now have a 39mm Diver Extreme. I especially like the GMT version with the whitish dial. I think it looks amazing, but again, amazing value for money. And now for, I guess we could class this as a wild card, because this isn't a watch or a brand that I'd personally buy, but this is Van Cleef. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of this watch because I can't. It's absolutely stunning, quite obviously not my style, but the way you tell the time is this butterfly. The top side of the wing points to this retrograde hour register, 0 to 12. It's a bizarre way of telling the time, but I also think it's just absolutely stunning. A lot of people say that this watch is a piece of art. It's one of those phrases that I feel is often kind of just thrown around. around, but I genuinely feel like these watches are just art. And Van Cleef treat these watches as art. They openly say, you don't wear one of these watches to tell the time accurately. It's a creative way of telling the time. I've already covered IWC. We've done a whole video on the new Portuguese range, but they launched a high complication watch, which is quite mind-blowing. So to understand how impressive this watch is, a normal date watch will go out of sync after a month. There's 31 numbers on the date wheel. If you're in a month that only has 30 days, by the first of the next month, your watch is out of sync. The next complication up is an annual calendar, which understands how many days there are per month and will keep in sync until there's a leap year. And that's where the perpetual calendar comes into play, because the perpetual calendar knows, if it's correctly set up, of course, knows when there's a leap year and will just keep going. A standard perpetual calendar will keep in sync for roughly 122 years. A high-end perpetual calendar, like one from IWC, can stay accurate or stay in sync for 400 years. When you get to 400 years, the leap years go out of sync of the normal format. What IWC have done now is they've just launched something that they've called the Eternal Calendar. The Moonphase function of this watch will stay in sync for the next 45 million years. I mean, they can't prove it, can they? And I wonder if the moon will still be around in 45 million years. So they're my highlights from Watches and Wonders. It's quite refreshing for the focus not to be on hype watches and the focus to kind of be more so on more interesting bits and pieces. So life after Watches and Wonders is essentially recovering and then lots of editing. We've got so many videos that we're working on. We've got content from Bremont, we've got content from Cartier, Zenith, Tag Heuer, loads of stuff. I am looking forward to getting back into the normal routine, maybe focusing on more creative projects and maybe buying some more watches. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Oh, and you can barkerjack.com if you want a sexy Barker Jack mug.